Psych! Hey, hello everybody. Yep, I left that one on a little bit purposely there just to freak some people out. Yes, don't worry, I do have a guest turning up. In fact, he's literally just logging on now. John from the Hexy Beast is just trying to get his station sorted, so, bear with him for a little bit. We'll just give him a sort of couple of minutes to sort things out. But hello to Kabuki, thanks for joining us as always. Seriously, do you not... I'm glad you have a lot of spare time to watch my streams, but how do you manage it? And hi to Steve as well. So, yeah, I can see like a sort of mini camera of John trying to sort out his headphones and mic and that. But, yeah, we're essentially going to be doing our top 10 worst things in our best games. I think this was a Patreon choice. I'm not entirely certain if it was Patreon or just Jonathan's idea, actually. One of us was doing it. And essentially what this is that I always talk about the fact that no game is ever flawless. Doesn't matter if it's a 10 out of 10 game. It could be my favorite game of all time. There'll still be flaws with it. If anybody ever tells you a game is perfect, they're lying through their coffee-stained teeth, honestly, because it's just not... There's no such thing. There's always going to be something that's slightly wrong with the game, like iffy about the design or a compromise here or there. It's just a case of how much you've actually coped with it. How much does it bother you? Does it not bother you at all? Have you found a house rule around it? Have you just basically gone, you know what, it's not that big of a deal for me, but I accept it's there? That's kind of how I see fit. But, we'll talk a little bit more in detail on that because I'm going to attempt to get him in. Let's have a look. Please tell me you're working.
I'm not working. Can you hear me?
Don't worry, I held the fort. I held the fort for 2 minutes.
Good. Oh, this thing doing my head in.
Fair enough. Well, as I say, smoothest start ever for a live stream. I'm going to move my camera back a bit as well because that's right up in my face.
I got like marks on my wall and everything. I just dropped everything behind me.
Fair enough. Right. Yeah. Yes, we are doing this top 10 together. This is John from the Hexy Beast, who is I can't remember. Was this top 10 your idea or was it a Patreon that I suggested to you?
I think you suggested it, and then I was like, I could talk about that. I think that's pretty much how it went down. So if everybody can hear me all right and can see me okay.
Yeah, let people know what the audio's like with John, because I know last time it was a little bit up and down, so hopefully this one will be pretty smooth. Shouldn't get any Yeah, we shouldn't get any internet issues today, though, because I've managed to get a new router and sort out my settings, and now the speed is ridiculous that I'm getting at the moment, so hopefully things should be pretty smooth. But in the interest of support small creators, do not forget, I've just noticed Hexy Beast's YouTube channel has got 993 subscribers. Get them to 1,000 by the end of this stream. It's only 7 people. Is that so hard? We can get that to 1,000, hit the milestone, and that'll be all good.
And I have to do something silly for a milestone video then.
Not necessarily. You just have to be happy about it, I would imagine. Just pop it on Facebook. That's all most do.
People, Luke. I'm trying to encourage people.
Well, I don't know. What else will you do, I guess? I don't know. He'll do a video where he does a weird little dance or something, I suppose. We can go with that.
Yeah, I got to keep that for the video.
Fair enough. Well, okay, I mean, if anybody doesn't know you, though, just tell everybody what it is do you specialize in anything in particular?
Yeah, my name is Johnny. I run a small solo-focused board game channel called the Hexy Beast. I basically do sort of playthrough style reviews. I have a demo at the start with my thoughts at the end. I also do a lot of unboxings, and basically I try to collaborate with as many people as I can, but not on my channel. I go to other people's channels for that. That's why I'm here now.
Fair enough. Now, most people are sort of saying the audio's fine. Maybe it can be a little better. I've tried to sort of edit. Well, I've tried to edit your mic settings a little bit just to keep the volume down a bit so it doesn't feed back, but that should be okay.
So that's good to know.
Well, yeah, I think you were coming through probably a bit too loud, so what I've done is basically turn your mic volume down a tiny bit.
Because I have a gain knob over here that I can adjust myself as well, man.
Yeah. All right, fine. I might turn you back up a little bit then. As I say, we got to be able to hear you. Give your wrong. I was about to say give your wrong answers. It's not really a right and wrong in this. This is essentially a kind of a weird list that we're doing. As the idea was suggested by Patreons, but I thought, you know what? As I mentioned just now, no game is ever flawless, so we got to be able to say, look, as much as we love these games, there are certain things that irk us. Now, the list that I have done, I have been somewhat... I had to reduce it down a little bit from the initial bit. So what I have purposely done is that none of my choices are on here because of game setup or length. Because that tends to be something I say about a lot of games, really. That the setup and length too long. And frankly, I could name every heavy game on my shelf and say the setup and length is a bit long for my liking or so. So it's kind of like that, just be like rinse, repeat all the time. You know, I love Anachrony. It takes a long time to set up and play. I love the Lacerters. They take a long time to set up and play. It's like, that's just a thing with heavy Euros, really. So none of my 10 fall into that trap. What about yourself?
Well, I think one or two may fall into that trap, but it's very specifically the games I mention are worth mentioning for that fact, I think.
There's that.
We'll find
All
out
right.
to them. It's not long.
Fair enough. We'll see. But yeah, we're going to... Well, let's catch on and see what we can do. All right, so... Well, crossover. Do you reckon we'll get much crossover? I don't know. I think we might get some, actually, because you like a lot of solo games, I like a lot of solo games, and there's definitely an element of them here.
I'll show you my list as well, so... I've been
What's
scribbling
that?
things down this afternoon. You told me not to show you my list, and I don't know. There might be some crossover. There might not be.
Well, I told you not to, like, show me the list. That doesn't mean you can't prepare it.
Well,
Ah,
I
fair.
can prepare it. I've been scribbling since this afternoon.
Spoilers. Don't do that. Yeah, all I would probably say is maybe don't speak into the mic too closely. Maybe that's causing some of the distortion. Yeah, it's always good to have a little bit of a
The
distance.
robot, which I might just shut down right now.
Oh, what? Sorry?
The robot. I'm going to shut it down, okay? I'm going to mute myself a second. Hey, Vector. Hey, Vector. Oh, shut up.
See how professional we are on the Broken Meeple. Right, okay. Right, well, let's get a move on then. All right, number 10s.
First.
Bring it on. Guess first.
Oh, always the guest. It's always the guest. Well, what I've actually got, which is
Oh,
probably...
sorry for being courteous.
What I've got, which is probably one that a lot of people can think of, especially when we're talking about the core game of this particular game, is I've put down Wingspan, the round 4 egg rush, which can be a ruining game, because this is one of the few games that I actually do play multiplayer, and I play it a lot online with the digital version. And by the end of the game, that 4-round egg rush can be a bit of a problem if you've got like anything in your hand. It becomes like the main strategy in the base game. I will say that I did find the expansions kind of solve that, but I also came up with my own sort of like 5-round variant, which I think solves it as well. Because I
Well, you play for longer.
Yeah, you take one, because you're removing one extra cube before the final round. It means the maximum egg laying capacity in that round is usually about 12 eggs, which is not usually worth playing 3 cards from your hand by that point in the game if you've saved up enough food. I've been playing this game too much. But
I just don't know if I'd want to extend the game. I mean, the game can go on a bit long with too many players anyway.
And especially with online requiring 3 all the time.
Well, three's a good number to play it with, if not 2-player or solo. But I mean, I'd be happy enough with 4 rounds. And a lot of people talk about this egg strategy. I mean, I've won the game doing other things before.
Totally. But if you've got that second row full up, you know that anybody on the table with their second row is going to be getting an easy 12 points straight in that last round, regardless of all the goals there. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes it's not even worth going for the round goal because of it, which is why I found when I added a 5th round goal and removed an extra cube, it made the amount of points available worth less than actually playing birds, that you have gaps in your sheet.
But doesn't that give people more time to play more eggs if you've got extra time in the game or extra rounds?
Kind of, but because the final round itself has its own round goal, it's usually more advantageous to sort of go for the goal instead of planting the eggs, because you can't get as many of an increase. If you filled your board by the end of round 4, you filled your board, haven't you?
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's hard to explain. I've played a lot of Wingspan. I even played it with a solo mode, and the only thing that messes up is you kind of still have to use the round 4 bot for the round 5, because you don't have a card that takes the action away.
I mean, with the eggs, I've not found that, like, eggs is, like, too overpowered in a sense. Although, like Ibuki says, I kind of agree with this. It's, like, it's an easy way to get points. So it's not necessarily the most powerful, but it's the lazy way to get lots of points, to just spam eggs.
You're loving it, and then suddenly you just see someone taking the egg action for 3 times in round 4, and you're a bit like, you know?
Fair enough, but as I say, I have to admit, I've seen enough people complain about the eggs in it, so it doesn't surprise me that it's around.
Hanging fruit, so I put it as number 10. Really, that's kind of
Well,
what I'd say.
you want low-hanging fruit? I'll give you a low-hanging fruit. Because one of my favorites, it's said by a lot of people, and I am finally given the privilege to actually have this game arrive on my doorstep. I mean, it's not like I haven't banged on about this game for, what, the last so many years or something, you know, saying how much I love this game, but finally I've been granted a chance to get my own copy of this wretched thing. Yes, I'm in the halfway through unboxing it. I need more sleeves. I've run out of sleeves for
it. Do you need a bigger crate?
No, they'll fit back in this box, what I've got in this new edition, but I've still got the crate in the other rooms. That's not going to be a big deal. But why would I put Sentinels on here? Well, it's the same. I mean, it's a complaint that some people have over the game, and I'm not going to deny it's not a factor, but I've got to the point where I'm used to it, and that's simply the admin bookkeeping side of things. I mean, I'm going over the definitive edition here, and I say the new graphic design that they use, where they've got big, bold keywords, and they've got end phase as, like, colored text, and start of turn as other text. You know, it makes it look a lot easier to play. So I'm certainly keen to get stuck in, play one of my favorite games of all time more.
Yeah, than the original, for sure.
I'm in two minds about that. I like the janky artwork of this one. It pops off the well, it pops off the cards a bit more, but as I say, it doesn't matter. But I'm putting on the old version here because the old version had a bit more text on the cards. Oops, sorry, that was a mistake. Yeah, more text on the cards, more stuff to read, and it just maybe like got a little bit complex for some. So, a fair amount of stuff going on. I mean, some of this is fan-made, but it's not too differentiated from the previous stuff. So, I've gotten over it. I've played it enough that I can deal with the admin. I've got my way of playing cards so that it's easy to deal with it. But like I say, I had to kind of say, look, all right, fine. Like, it does have a fair bit of admin and upkeep. I'm just comfortable with it. But it certainly does bug a lot of other people. So that's why it's kind of shoehorned on number 10.
It's just lots of rules anyway. Because I find the decks being pre-made really helps get over that though. I think you not having to actually do any deck building to actually get it going is one of the reasons that it kind of is easier to start, but it's harder once you get to further scenarios when it gets complex.
Oh, I mean,
digital version, to be fair.
Well, that goes without saying of using... Oh, yeah, digital app's fantastic. But, yeah, it goes without saying. I love a game that gives me a pre-built deck that's unique. That's why I like Empires of the North more than 51st State and Imperial Settlers. It's why I like this more than Marvel Legendary and Xeon's End. I get to be...
I like Marvel Champions more than, say, the Lord of the Rings card game, because you kind of always had to deck build the Lord of the Rings, didn't you? You couldn't really just...
Yeah, you have to in Lord of the Rings and Arkham, although, yeah, Marvel Champions is a good example, actually. Yeah, I mean, you still got a deck build in Marvel Champions, but a third of the deck is pre-built, so that's why they work. But fair enough. All right, well, let's get on to some not shoehorned picks, shall we say, with our 9s.
Swanky animations there. Well,
spare no expense. Hey, you know how long it takes me to get this stuff together.
Ooh, I got carried away. I was just watching the show and I was like, why is nobody talking? So for my number 9, I've put Core Space. Right, this is my favorite minis game by a long shot. It's kind of put it this way. I've been playing the same crew in this game for the last 2 years. The same actual campaign, so to say. It's a ship called the Old Meg. Contains 4 characters, and my main problem with it, which is one of the things you warned me about at the start, was actually the setup. Because you have to build the train for every map, and sometimes you'll get your mission done in 20 minutes and then spend the next 20 minutes building the second mission. And then you've got to go to the shop and buy all your weapons. So you're putting all this cardboard together with these clips between each mission. And it looks great on the table, and it's a really good time. The rule set is amazing. It's so versatile that you could play it around your breakfast table, to be fair. But that setup is, as you can see, it's going to take a little while if you're finding all the right pieces and setting it up based on the mission and then building all the little chests. And
those pegs would drive me nuts.
Ah, they actually changed, right? Those are the new pegs. The old pegs, you couldn't get your fingers between them. So they changed the size of them and made them a little longer so you could actually grab them easier.
So the new version, they still kept pegs. They didn't think maybe it was time to
Oh, because
upgrade.
that's your health and your XP and that's everything's done with
Are
pegs,
they-
right? The reason it's important, and it says that, right? If you go back to that peg chart, you'll see there's gold pegs, right? And there's black pegs and there's pink pegs. But the gold pegs is your ammo, right? And the first time you fire a shot each round, you put that ammo into the time track, which is above that long ruler thing in ahead of you, yeah? As
Right.
that increases, that's kind of like a threat tracker and it causes more enemies to spawn. So as you fire rounds, you put the peg into the tracker, causing the threat to increase as it's supposed to symbolize like your shots making sound and enemies hearing them.
Yeah.
It's
I
you
mean,
need to-
that's.
man. The
I
pegs,
mean, that's.
it's all about the pegs.
Well, I guess, but I mean, Nemesis has noise markers, and what was the other game? That level 99.
It does noise markers as well, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of
I like
Zombicide,
noise
but
markers, and they do exist. So like, here's the board. I'm trying to look at what's on the screen a second. So as you can see as well, the character boards they have they're dry wipe. So as you level up, you add stats in with a pen.
okay.
It makes them really easy to keep as well. The plastic trays. Also, the inventory is another system I love. We're talking about how much I love it. Another thing I hate about it. But
Well, these are your favorite games. We're going to expect that. So.
but if you look just under the actual character sheet, there's an inventory. So the actual tokens themselves are inside the chests.
Right.
And you can only fit what you can literally fit in that slot. So like a smaller token takes up less space.
A polyomino game with your inventory.
Kind of, but it's only like one row. So like you have some items are worth one slot, some items are worth two.
Okay.
It's just really well thought out, and to save the game is
Yeah.
really easy as well. You just stack everything on all those trays on top of each other and chuck them in the box. And
Yeah. I do like the terrain. I do like the terrain in that, and I can imagine this is an absolute pain to set it up. But it is very cool, like terrain with actual chairs and tables and stuff.
the price. I bought this copy. Everything you're seeing here, minus the paint on the figures, comes in the core box, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was £65.
But it's not a bad price for what you got in there.
With the mat underneath it as well, the neoprene mat 2x2.
So how come this hasn't had more buzz then?
It was at UKGE. They had a whole big booth, if you remember, Battle Systems.
Oh, okay. I must.
Yeah, Colin.
I've-
It's kind of an unsung. It's kind of like Underground. It's like one of those things that like everybody who played it loves it, but like,
Right.
not everybody knows about it.
I'd have to look it up. I mean, two things might have put me off if I even noticed it at the expo. One would have been the name.
For range and stuff as well.
Yeah. Core Space might have just been like a bit of a done there, and maybe I would have just seen another miniatures game and thought, you know what, I'll
I know
pass. Maybe.
and it did just kind of look like that, like someone had set up Warhammer overlay or something.
So maybe it just like blended in with that. But yeah, I mean, it's fair enough that I took setup and that off mine, but I don't think I own any game that's crazy setup like that. Like Heroescape is not something I've ever played. You know, the crazy setup of that.
Take longer to set up than to actually play the mission sometimes. Which can happen. It's not a bad solo, obviously, because it's kind of like a hobby in itself, and it's like Lego or something. But you know,
That
if
is true.
players waiting for you.
Nah, I've got enough games to go through at the moment as it is. Right, my number 9. 999. We've literally just been... Well, you mentioned it in passing. Like a brief mention on my last list.
Ooh.
As it, well, last thing. Deck building's not the problem. I mean, granted, I don't go mad for it. I just copy decks off the internet from people who know what they're doing. You're saying it's easy enough to copy a deck off the net, but it's another thing to be able to pilot it well. So that's where I find it's not so much there. And that's maybe people put lists up so people can do it. But I have Lord of the Rings LCG on my list for a slightly different reason. All right, you don't need to go into vampire mode. You'll be all right.
I'm just trying to figure out what lights are working and what isn't.
You don't need to be the beast in a cave. Right, but Lord of the Rings LCG is on mine, mainly because of the last couple of cycles they've had, particularly the last one they did before they decided to bring in kind of like the revised core set, something Mordor one, but basically it was a Mordor set. Now, I like Lord of the Rings LCG. It has gone down for me in years, mainly because of the amount of deck building and like preparation you have to do with the humongous amount of cards that you've got in this. But what's been putting me off is more the difficulty creep. And this is a problem I do see with a fair few LCGs in general. But Lord of the Rings LCG was the biggest sufferer.
I just often said Galaxy's Most Wanted. Nothing.
Oh yeah, No, Galaxy's Most Wanted, I must admit, yeah, that was quite a tricky expansion for Marvel's Charity. I actually dare say Titan Shadow is easier than Galaxy's Most Wanted until you get to Loki, and then it's stupidly impossible. It's kind of a problem there. But
I remember.
But the thing with this is that the last couple of cycles of Lord of the Rings LCG have just got stupidly hard. I mean, the initial, you play some of the earlier scenarios, there's still some tough ones in there. They've never really been able to balance difficulty that well, but generally you can get through them. I can play a bunch of the Story Saga ones and get through them. I can play the Deep Sea one and even the, I forget what it was called, the Dale one, which was quite a recent one, but apart from 1 or 2 missions in that, I felt that was doable. The Mordor one is ridiculously hard, and it gets to the point where I can't play a deck all the way through the cycle, and that's what I like to do. I like to take a thematic deck and run it through a cycle, like go through the story. But you have to basically go, right, I'm starting off with this deck, and then mission 2, I need to change to a completely different deck with characters who weren't there in the first place, so that I can beat this mission. So, and then I'll return to the other deck once I've got through this stupidly crazy difficult mission. I mean, anytime I see the difficulty rating at 8 or higher, I'm like, come on. Yeah.
So it's basically like a stop card. It sort of just like goes, by the way.
Yeah, by the way, did you find this game easy? No. Well, we're making it stupidly hard anyway. I can't.
It's just LCG design, I think, in general, does that. I think they expect people to be more experienced sometimes.
One thing I need to find out with your mic is that I notice you go quiet if you talk when I'm talking. Nobody else has ever had that issue.
That's a good thing, really, isn't it? It means I'm not interrupting you.
True, but then I feel like I might be talking over you. Anyway, I'm going to get off that picture because it's got a spider on it and I don't like it. But well, and the picture of I mean, that's one thing with this game. This game has given me several heart attacks with the spider cards. It's ridiculous. It's a good thing that in the Marvel universe there aren't any spiders, at least not to my knowledge. So, but
Middle-earth spiders. What about them things? The ones out of Journeys of Middle-earth, the new Shelob one or whatever they did.
I don't mind that one too much. He's like, oh, kitty. Hey, viewers will go up to 100 now because of the cat.
Yeah.
But
There she is. Hello, cat. Can you get her, please? Don't please.
That's all right. Let her roam. But yeah, there are spiders in that. But I mean, they're little miniatures. I can kind of deal with them, and you know, you don't see an artist rendering of the spider in it, so it's not too much of a problem. Yes, I don't like it when a ton of them appear, but it's not like, oh no, I can't possibly go near the piece. No, but there are certain things like the Lord of the Rings LCG, or worse, the Arkham Horror cycle, the Dream Eaters. You try playing the Dream Eaters when you're arachnophobic. It's not easy.
I kind of wish I put Arkham on my list now because of the getting packs thing. I reckon that would have been a great thing to use. Oh, never mind.
We may have to do there. So, what's your cat's name? Everyone's now more interested in the cat in our list.
It's Azavia. Azavia. It's a character from a book that my wife was writing. Or Azzy for short, but she only responds to Madam. So.
For reasons, but okay.
She also won't drink water out of her bowl. She wants it from a glass. She's a bit posh like that.
Everything you're not. I mean, it's like, posh isn't the word I'd use for you.
If you look at where my cat's dish is, there's literally a glass of water next to her food for her to drink out of because she won't drink out of anything else.
And a small dish of caviar or something next door, I guess. But spoiler.
I'm not sure. She knows she's in shot, I think. She saw herself on the screen.
Well, let's get on to the other 8s and put her out of shot for a minute.
Out of here. Get out of here. Anyway, yeah. She's fine. There's some pillows over there. So, where are we on? Number 8?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, number 8. What I've got here is Mansions of Madness, the lockpicking mini games. Oh my god.
Wait, you don't like those?
I hate them. I ignore the stat limits on them. I just go, right, I'm just going to solve this thing on my phone just to get through it. I throw it to the side. I don't want it. For some reason, it's like, yay, way to pop out of the immersion. Give me a block puzzle.
But then puzzles happen in those sort of games. I mean, you never played like the Resident Evils and stuff?
It just seems to bring gameplay to a halt sometimes. It just seems to like just stop you dead in your tracks. I don't like it. I think it harms the flow of the game, personally. I think it's very much a. It could be. They didn't do it in Giant, did they? They didn't put it in Journeys of Middle Earth or Descent has its own things, but.
I forget what Descent has in that regard, but yeah, I mean, yeah, there's none in Journeys of Middle Earth. There's no puzzles in that.
I don't know. It just seems every time I'm playing, I'm getting into the story. The cat's back. Oh, come on. Seriously?
This is the cat disagreeing with your choice.
Yeah,
Say,
come on.
cat's on my side. So, cat's like, how dare you? How dare you say that Mansions of Madness has flaws? How dare you?
Oh, it's a great game. I love it. That's why I picked it, because I love this game. I love all app-based Fantasy Flight games. But every time I see one of those mini games, I just like meh. Oh yeah, the mini suckers. The minis bases suck in this game too.
The minis and the bases do indeed suck in this game, right, royally. I do not use them.
They're going to go third edition and print it all like the cent and make us pay loads of money for it as well. Waiting for it.
But I mean, I like the puzzles. It's fine. The fact that you've got the stat limits, depends on the character. If you've got a character who sucks at intelligence or logic, or observation, you expect them to take ages with this simple puzzle while the monster's coming down the hallway. It's
I understand thematic reasons for it being there, but it just leaves a bad taste every time one of them comes up. It's the same as when it's similar to when it goes over multiple maps. So like instead of like letting you finish a scenario and be in a part 2 scenario, it goes, okay, pack this map away, get another map out now. It's the same scenario. It does that a lot in some of the expansions as well.
It does that in some of the lengthy scenarios. Yes, there is that. But oh god, James, seriously. James is basically the dad joke master with this.
On my channel, always leaves a comment. He's one of my favorite viewers. I love all of you equally, but every video with a comment. So thanks, James.
Great recovery. Although to be fair, James, Lillian, Christoph Kabuki, Surf, Victory, there's quite a lot of people in the chat here who are regulars. So
I played the odd game of Arnak with Kabuki Kid as well on BGA, I think. But
all right, I need to get back on that a bit more, but time permitting. Speaking of time, sevens.
Didn't do your 8.
Wait. No, I didn't. That's why I literally just turned back there. As soon as I clicked on it, I thought, wait a second. I'll tell you what, it's your cat putting me off. That's what it is. I'm going to blame the cat. That'll lose me like 20 viewers to say, how dare you blame the cat? But yes, I didn't do my number 8. Yes, no problem on that at all. Number 8 is a drafting game, and probably the best simple card drafting game that there is, frankly. Lots of others have come out to try and replace it, and they have failed to top this one, really, for me. But it's not to say it doesn't have a slight irritating thing about it. The game itself is 7 Wonders, and the main thing that I'm not a fan of is having to constantly explain to people why science is important, not to let someone run away with it.
People... I played it once at like my local board game club or whatever, and I was one of those guys. I just didn't get it. And it was just like, what is this game?
I mean, I really like. Oh, right, sorry for the cat. All right, but yeah, the problem is that if you don't tell people about the science, then they inevitably let someone get hold of all of them, and then they run away with the game. So you have to tell them. And then they take it too seriously and start taking them just for the sake of taking them. Yeah, so there
was like 2 players in the group that we were playing with that was super serious about it as well. Like really, just ruining everyone else straight away. You knew it was between them two.
But then on top of that, Lillian points out as well, the science scoring is also weird compared to the rest. I mean, blue, flat out points. Yellow, flat out points. Red, count your tokens. Here, count your points. The green has to give you a math problem in order to solve how many points it's got, and it confuses new players every time.
It's one of those things. I tend to find these sort of like abstracted card sort of games, like things like Innovation as well. They tend to just like not go into my head properly. I don't know what it is about them. Innovation did the same. I just can't quite figure the... Like, I understand how to get a little engine going, but I'm nowhere near knowing how to play that game well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, Innovation takes a bit to get used to. I mean, I absolutely love that game, particularly on BJ, and it almost made my top 10 here for a different reason, but yeah, it was ugly. You can get the expansions, but only for the ugly version. I do wish it looked a lot nicer, but still love that game. I mean, I must have played it like 50 times during the first couple of months of lockdown, just because on BGA you could rinse repeat it like mad. Absolute crazy. But yeah, that's mainly that. I mean, I love most of the things about Seven Wonders. It's just constantly having to get newbies to deal with the science properly can be a pain. Once you've played the game and you know what you're doing, that's gone. But it's still something that I have to deal with. You know, why do I obviously have to keep dealing with it? And I mean,
12 years ago.
yeah. Well, Garla mentions the Seven Wonders Architects on BGA. I like that game. I think it's really good. I'm annoyed at BGA that they have managed to get Seven Wonders Architects on there, games like Feast of Odin and all these other games, and yet they still can't give me the expansions to Seven Wonders. Why are they slacking off by not giving me the expansions to Seven Wonders?
Well, I generally BGA. There's a few. I only play 2 games on it really, and that's Rally Man and Harnack. So.
Well, like I say, they've had years and years to give me expansions to Seven Wonders, and they still haven't. So you're forced to play the base game only, which is nowhere near as good as once you've got stuff in it. But yeah, why they can't just input it in? How hard can it be? I don't know. But well. Now properly 7.
Lucky number 7, and this is one I scribbled on my list today because I only yesterday, and I already love it. I already love it, by the way. That's important. And I've already found my biggest issue with it. And that's the
What even is that?
It's a solo RPG. Where you
What's it called?
Prompts, 1,000-year-old vampire. You work your way through prompts, and it has like a very pretty book. If I can get it open. Where it's like all like library booky and scrapbook looking. And if it'll go in there with all like pictures and stuff.
Well, hopefully I can find it. Does it exist on Board Game Geek?
Yes. It's called Just 1,000-Year-Old Vampire, no A. See, what am I doing? I can't. It's like I've lost track of gravity and can't hold things the right way up. That thing, right?
This is going to be like really hard to find, but I'll try. Keep talking about it though.
Before we go, right? Basically, it's like a journaling RPG. So, like, you get given a prompt. Each prompt is supposed to encourage you to create a memory and an experience. You can only hold up to 5 memories. And you can only, so the idea is the passage of time causes you to forget things because you live for 1,000 years, you're immortal. But it pretty much lets you come up with anything you want. So right now, I am a 12th century Frenchman who was in the Battle of Hastings and got turned. And then I'm now in the hills of Gwent, living as a life as a highwayman, picking off people who value their cargo more than their life. So, but the thing I found was the main problem. My problem with it, it's a very fun game and I've come up with some great stories, which are all over the solo groups right now. My problem was writer's block. So I did a prompt earlier today, and I was just sat there for 15 minutes staring at the prompt. It was 2 sentences, but I've been writing like 3 sheets of A4 for each prompt at this point, right? You don't have to. The game encourages you to write a sentence, right? But I've been writing big, long, paragraphs for each experience of my memories, which I'm probably going to forget by the end of the game. But like, I did come across one earlier, and I just got like a complete blank on what I wanted to write, and it just sort of stopped me in my tracks. So the thing I hate about the game I love right now, 1,000-Year-Old Vampire, is literally the fact that I get writer's block when I'm playing it because I'm putting too much effort into it because I'm enjoying it so much.
So you're supposed to write in it then?
No, I've got a Word document, but you can use a journal or you write it down like on paper or whatever. It's pen and paper RPG. You use 2 dice, 1d10 and 1d6. You roll the d10 and then subtract the d6, and that's how many prompts you move forward in the book. It's kind of like Choose Your Own Adventure, but with full-on RPG character creation.
Okay.
There's no combat. There is combat, but it's no like dice rolling or anything like that. It's more of a skill. You have skills, you have resources, you have memories, people you know. So like as I've got older, all the mortals I knew in my home village in France have all got too old and died because I got cursed with a moving shadow by a siren that found me after I visited. This is mature content, by the way. I visited a brothel to feed on someone, and the owner of the brothel happened to be a siren called Madame Josephine, and she chased me and then cast me with a curse, which caused my shadow to get a mind of its own. And then I woke up 100 years later in some overgrowth with vines around me. So everyone I knew was dead, and so on.
That's definitely the most obscure pick I think I've had on a list for a long time.
It literally came into my head today. That's why when I said I was scribbling things down today, I was trying to play a prompt in this earlier, and I was like, that's it. I've got writer's block playing this game right now that I'm really enjoying. Perfect example.
well, for Gratz have given me the hardest one to ever locate on the web.
Yeah. Well,
now,
PDFs. But the book was $45 and cost me like $27 to ship it. So
Jesus.
Yeah.
We're rip off on the shipping.
Yeah, basically.
All right. Well, this one's not going to be hard to find at all because, for starters, it's on Board Game Geek. It's not a roleplay game. I've not.
Board Game Geek.
Well, saying that, I've got to get off. I now have to get myself off RPG Geek now.
Sorry, I was off topic. I've broken the rules, Luke. I've gone into RPG territory.
It's all games, it's fine. It was just like completely unexpected. But this one, I enjoyed a survival game. Very thematic, very story. Well, it creates its own stories because, let's face it, the publisher is all about the motto, board games that tell stories. But certainly, as much as I love playing Robinson Crusoe, it is a bit of a mission to relearn it when you've put it down for a while. It's,
Okay.
it's, an awesome game. Well, I love this game. It's great. But if you put it down and then revisit it, it takes ages to get through the rulebook, even the second edition version, and work out how to play it again.
After you realise that the way the board is laid out is practically the player aid as well, and you still get confused.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mission, but that's why I'm kind of hopeful with the new version, because I have backed the new version together. Maybe not the whole thing. Maybe I just did the upgrade kit in the big box.
I had the recent retail version as opposed to the Kickstarter version, and I was wondering if you might have the old box first edition because people were saying they had issues with that.
Oh god, no. I've got that second edition one. So the one that was on the one that shows on the screen there is my one.
Ah, okay, cool. I was going to say because a lot of people were saying about that issue with the first edition.
Oh yeah, but the box is not necessarily a problem. It's just that the new collector's box will store like the new stuff in as well. Mainly what I want from the new set is obviously a revised rulebook, because that could always be good. But there will also be a tutorial campaign in it, which hopefully will make some of the rules stick, but also means that I can teach the game to people easier.
Did you complete that first scenario, the first try?
First try, no, but I have completed it.
Yeah, I have to. It took me more tries than I care to admit.
I'm pretty sure that the first scenario is actually harder than the rest of the scenarios.
The second one, I was like, man, that first one.
I have completed Swiss Family Robinson or whatever it is, and the Save Jenny one first time out. The Wood one, the first scenario that you're supposed to do, took me multiple tries.
Yeah, it's a good way to show you what the game's about, but at the same time, it can be so off-putting to anyone who's a new player.
It's kind of mad, but yeah, I just wish it was just a bit easier to get back. It just needs to be that little bit more intuitive, or have that rule book that's perfect. But like I say, maybe the new campaign, well, not campaign, the miniature tutorial thing will be a good way to sort of get back into it. Here's hoping.
Player might be able to solve it. Just something that simple, I think.
That is true, but either that or just play it more often. But then that's a harder.
It's not that quick. It's quick, but it's not that quick when you get thinking, when you're in your head with it.
Oh, I don't mind it not being stupidly quick. It's just the fact that I got a lot of games I want to play. Robinson Crusoe has to fall behind, and some of the reasons it does fall behind is the idea of it taking a while. The Dice Tower did that video where Ignacy actually taught them the game, and it's still got bits in the rule mixed up or something. It's one of the funniest playthrough videos I've ever seen, because I don't tend to watch playthrough videos, period. Especially not from the bigger channels. But
playthroughs, I'm gonna do a little section and then I'm gonna do my review.
But I just like to get people's opinions on it. I like to be playing the game, not necessarily watching someone play the game. But that playthrough that does it is actually an example of what a playthrough should be like. Hilarious banter. And a lot of playthroughs these days just do not have the banter. I'm watching it and I'm bored, because I'm not hearing jokes. I'm not hearing people rip on the game or rip on each other. It's just like, oh, you're just playing it. It's like, no, give me something fun, I
kind of get sidetracked in a lot of I do live streams with Mike Dennis over at Ready Steady Play, and I'm not the greatest of players. I always lose the games because I'm just too busy having fun, to be honest.
Yeah, that sort of makes sense. I did Ignacy.
Ignacy. That's mean. Why are you so nasty about that guy? Or something.
I love the guy, but it's just like, oh my god, I can butcher names like crazy or something. At least I can spell it. That's the main thing. All right. Never you know.
I don't know what to do with what you just said. To be honest, Luke,
No one does.
I'm still going through it. It's it's worrying. But anyway, are we on number 6 now?
Keep up.
Well, my number 6, I haven't finished, and although I say I like it, I don't like it. I also say I hate it a lot. It's Sleeping Gods, saving the game. Come on, man, that is horrible.
No, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Saving the game, man. And I bought my version off Mark 18. I'm pretty sure he nicked 2 bags out of it. Pretty sure. So I was like, I'm trying to save it up, and I'm like, I'm 2 bags short. I'm pretty sure.
Mark Dainty, your thief. He wants his bags back.
No, but like, I really enjoyed the narrative of it. But because of the saving of it, it ended up getting saved like twice and then never coming out again, and it just never got finished. But I was really enjoying it. But I wasn't willing to go through the save process ever again. It was that bad for me. I've kept it in my collection because when I get to a point I can leave a table up and just leave games set up, I will go back to it and I will finish it and I will restart it.
That is why it's not made my list, because I do admit the save function in Sleeping Gods is not very good at all. But when I played it through the whole campaign, I had it set up on this table, and I put the table sleeves on it like I have done now with the laptop, because Sentinels Multiverse is underneath this, and it's like it meant I could leave it set up, so I never had to go through the save function.
Yeah, it was really.
I agree. I mean, this game is great fun. It's a great story. It's nice and simple. It's beautiful. I mean, the game is on my shelf still.
And that's why I thought I'd mention it, because there's no reason I'm not going to swear. There's no reason I shouldn't like this game at all, because it is pretty much something I should love. But that save system pretty much killed it.
It's a tedious save system. I mean, you can get over it in a sense. I mean, I don't think it can kill a game for you.
Unless you can't ever leave a game up overnight and you've only ever got 3 hours to leave a game out.
I mean, that's fair enough. You need to be able to leave this out and not put it away, and then you're in good hands.
Because I will go back.
Yeah, it's why I've not shown it to some friends of mine where we've played things like Near and Far and that before, because the problem is that I would have to play it with them and then we'd have to save it on the end of every night, and I think that would probably drive me nuts.
It did me. And I was so... I didn't need other people to make me go nuts with that one.
That's true.
My chair left on the wall up there when I dropped stuff a minute ago. Man.
You're fine. But yeah, that's a good one actually. I could imagine that would pop up on a few lists. Like I say, it's only because of my circumstances that it doesn't make my list on that. So that's a good one. All right, my number 6, I'm not going to talk about too much because we pretty much already talked about it a minute ago, and Kabuki spoiled the reason why it's on my list.
Let's have a look. I'm going to read the chat to see what Kabuki spoiled.
I can't wait for you to read through the chat. No, I'm just going to get on with it.
You keep talking. Don't worry about me. I'll just do my own thing by here.
Or you could just read what's on the screen, but there you go. There we go. It's Mansions of Madness. No, Mansions of Madness. This one, we talked about it earlier. Kabuki said it. It's basically those bases are a pain. Yeah, the minis and the bases are pathetic. Yeah, there's not much else to sort of say. I mean, the miniatures are fine. I'm sorry, the investigators are fine.
The big ones are nice. I like the big like Cthulhu-y one, the Star Child or whatever.
Well,
the worms and stuff, they were cool. But the actual square base ones,
but these ones, like with the little night gaunts and that, they never stayed on the bases. They were a pain. But I'm trying to find the actual... Yeah, these bases here, they are a stupid idea because you have the miniature, which is only good if you've got the bigger creatures like these. These are cool. Those suck. But you have this boring black base where the things don't sit in the holes very easily. And then you put the tile with the information on it, barely legible, and through those holes. But then it's got...
as well, the ones right next to the ones you're pointing at right now, I hate them. They can do one.
but the thing is that those tiles have got good artwork on them. So why don't we just use the tiles? That's what I do in every game now.
It does take something away, though. I will admit, once I'm playing it and I've got just the tiles out, I'm a bit like, this feels like Eldritch Horror now.
Well, yeah, but I'm cool with that because honestly, you know, if it shortens the game up, you get to use this cool artwork, so you still get the cool imagery. Your investigator could be a miniature, fine, and then at least that's the only miniature on the board. But the time it takes me to go through the crates I've got and go through several bags, like 12 bags of different categorized minis.
A literal bag of square bases like that. That every time I play the game, I'm putting minis on.
Yeah. But I've got to find the mini. Well, I've got to find the bag for the collection of minis I'm after. Then I've got to get the mini out. Then I've got to find a base size for it. Then get the tile. Screw that. I'll just get the tile.
Yeah.
And, although I haven't played Cthulhu Death May Die. That's on my wish list. I would like to try that one.
I would like to try it as well, but every time I see the board, I'm a little like, The red minis on that one like track or whatever. I'll be like, not sure. And I've had opportunities to try it, and I've just been like, I'll wait.
Yeah, the looks do put me off it a little bit, but I'm still like, you know, could be good fun. And
I'll try it, but I'm not willing to buy it yet.
yeah, I'd rather if I can get it on Kienda credit or as a review copy, then maybe, but that will have to come. But even then, I'd have to find the time to learn it because it's obviously not a small game.
A lot of people love it. It seems to have a good following.
It was just one of those, oh, look, here's a stupidly expensive Kickstarter with a whopping great big miniature. That's completely pointless. Some beside Marvel. But, you know.
Oh, do you see what he did to that thing? They had to cut it up or something, didn't they, for a shot? They cut it in half or something. Or someone dropped it and broke it. I can't remember.
Well, you shouldn't have to pay. You shouldn't spend that much money on a piece of plastic that's not got any purpose. It's like, I don't know. But we're going on the fads before we talk about giant minis. I swear that.
Have got. It's very sorry. I interrupted you completely then.
Nah, for a minute I thought that sounded like the music sped up then on that transition. It was kind of weird, but.
For my number 5, it's a game you've mentioned already. It is Robinson Crusoe, and I've chosen the weather dice. I hate those weather dice.
You just don't like
my day, man.
You just don't like a challenge.
I just don't like weather dice. It's not that I don't like saying. Once again, it's a game I love. Things I hate about a game I love. It's not really something that will stop me playing the game. It's not a real complaint, if you know what I mean. But it's one of those things that really like ruins my day.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not like, oh, this is a fundamental flaw of the game necessarily. I mean, some of mine are like that.
They design so much, but when I'm playing it, I'm like, those weather dice. You know? And I kind of put it on there for that reason. I didn't want it to come across as I hate dice because I've just did a top 10 dice games list. But those weather dice, man, they know how to ruin my day completely.
Is that, well...
All the best laid plans, and then, weather, never mind. No.
Look at that orange die. Don't you just want to roll it right now?
No. I want to grind it. I want to smash it into powder.
I usually get more grief from these dice here, the things, because I keep rolling wounds when I try to do basic things.
You tried to light a fire, broke your wrist. Oh.
Yeah. It's like, I keep suffering wounds doing menial tasks with those dice. That's what drives me nuts. I could usually get by with the weather because I've prepped for it. Well, maybe.
I'm so afraid to even fight any of the animals in this game that the weather dice is kind of my only option, you know?
Well, I don't know. I mean, fighting the animals is fine, although, as I say, you gotta get meat and fur somehow. Yeah. There's not many ways to do it. That's fair. Fair enough. As I say, we've already had a couple of crossovers, albeit for different reasons. Well, for different reasons, but it's good to get some crossovers. Right, as I type out my name of the next choice.
Okay. No,
of the next choice. This next one is, well, we were just talking about Sleeping Guards. This is not Sleeping Guards. It's another one in his line, though. And I do love this. Yeah, it's very unlucky, but definitely like a favorite of mine. Easily my favorite of all his games. Not to say there isn't one thing about Empires of the Void, though, that I do wish was a little bit different. You know, it's not...
Different? I thought he was going to say Above and Below or something like that. I did.
There was oh god, spammers fan. Oh god, yeah, I see.
What's happened?
There was a spammer in the chat. Just put it on timeout.
Backhand out and be like...
That's all right. I got timeout and kick functions on here, so we're good. But yeah, Empires of the Void 2 is, like I say, love it, gorgeous, my space game of choice. And of course, James, you've heard of this one because I bang on about it enough. But with this one, there is a setup rule with the scaling of players that I'm not a fan of. Now, hopefully, bear in mind I have to do this on the fly, I can actually find... here we go. Now, maybe this will give me enough. I don't know. If they're playing a 5-player game, this won't work. We'll see what's around. But basically, it's the Sarkeen Regency. So for those who have played this game, there is a way that when you play this with less players, there's a faction called the Sarkeen Regency, which are a neutral faction that essentially... I don't want to see his hair. But they effectively go on the board. In fact, if I can... Is there a way that I can scroll and get a nice zoom in of the board? Here we go. There it is. And basically, it goes on the planets that you're not supposed to use in the player count. Mm-hmm. Now, the board doesn't scale in the way that you would expect it to scale, where you have less planets or you have a smaller board. It just puts those on various planets. And so when you play this with only 2 or 3, you end up with a bucket load of the planets with this Sarkeen on it. All they do is sit there and act as nearly indestructible roadblocks, because you, in order to beat these things, and all you get is 2 victory points for doing it, so it's not like it's a massive benefit for it. You've got to kit yourself out like the ultimate combat munchkin to get over the 6 dice and 9 power or whatever it is, and it's absolute pain. So they just sit there. They don't do anything. They don't contribute to the events. They're just nigh on impossible to kill. They're not even worth killing. I just feel like there was a better... Just give me all the planets in low player counts.
Sort of thing. It's not really anything else.
Well, it doesn't even slow you down because you just don't go to them. It's just a way of covering up the map. It's like, I would have rather you actually just gave me a smaller board.
True.
Smaller board with less planets. But I want to use these planets.
Do that, though. I know they block spaces for lower player counts and things. But then,
yeah, but
I wouldn't say whole planets is one that's worth blocking.
Well, that's the thing, because that means you don't put the event cards in for this planet. So this planet is basically a dead space on the board.
Yeah, I'm just going to play a 4-card game of Solar Storm today, because, you know.
That's the thing. It just doesn't seem to matter. I mean, as Kurigi says, if you play this with 5 players, you don't get this problem. And if you play this with 4 players, you only have to cover up, I think, 1, maybe 2 planets max. So that's fine.
UKGE, because you could have bought it and then made me play it, and then we could have done a big 5-player thing at convention. But you're not going this year, you, because of the wedding. Never mind.
My brother's wedding. Now I won't be at UK Games Expo this year, but I will be going to Baycon though in April, so that should be good fun.
Baycon. Where's Baycon? Baycon's
in Exeter in late April.
I might be able to do that one.
In the good old West Country, the best part of Britain. But exactly, yeah, cider. Unlike Hampshire, which doesn't seem to have heard of the stuff, or at least not any decent stuff. But with this one, are the planets being blocked random or the same ones each time? They are random. You essentially, I think you have so many planets in the game, and then you just select at random which ones you're going to have the Sarkeen on. And there is an app for this game, but, well, it's an app. It's a Steam implementation. It's recently been released about a month and a half ago. However, the reviews say it's got some issues. It's definitely got some launch bugs and things like that, so I would probably just hold fire on it because it's like £7, so it's not the cheapest app in the world. Maybe just give it a bit more time to stew in the oven for a bit.
Did you just say it costs money to buy an app that supports the game?
No. No. There is it's not an app. It's a Steam implementation for it.
Okay, yeah, okay. I was wondering then. I was like, whoa. Yeah. I thought it was just like something you download for your phone to keep track of stuff or something. Then.
Nah, and I'm down for this being on the Steam thing. To be able to play it against AI would be fantastic. But yeah, Sarkeen Regency. Just I wish there was just a better way to have done player scaling. And like I say, it just looks weird on the board. Just not a fan. Alrighty, 4s.
Rushing me, Luke. Nah, I'm kidding.
I'm rushing anything.
My number 4 is Folklore: The Affliction. And the reason I've chosen to put it here is because although it is a great sort of campaign game, a great sort of dungeon crawler style strung together story kind of game thingy, it has a big problem in that once you've done the first couple of scenarios, the sprawl of the characters is ridiculous to the point that you haven't got space on the table no more. I know there's an app to sort of control your characters.
What was the game title again? Sorry.
Folklore: The Affliction.
Ah, right.
So it's kind of like it works really well solo for one. It's just like control the party, but by the time you've got like 3 players, and like one of them's died and become a ghost, or they've all picked up loads of items or loads of skills and etc. etc. It's like you've got like 15 cards below the actual player board itself. You'll probably find a picture of a game set up with ridiculous amounts of cards on the table somewhere, because it gets too much. That's the one thing I hate about it. It's just some guys tucking a card into a mini. And the version I got actually is the standard version. There's no
That's
mini.
a big box.
Yeah, and sorry, what was that?
Hang on. For 35 miniatures. It makes a big deal about including 35 miniatures. That box is huge. What else is in it then?
You get the miniatures version. I got standees in mine. I got no miniatures in mine. I have one little Meeple thing that works around on the world map. It's got to be pictures of it with character. No, that's not set up. See, no one can fit it in frame. That's why. That's what.
It's just because everybody on BGG just posts nothing but painted minis, as if I give a monkeys the fact that you're a good painter or something. I want to know about the game, but
This still not set up there.
well, let's see. I'll try and find it. But is it just basically the fact that it's a sprawling nightmare?
Yeah, there's just like you'll have like sometimes there are points where you'll have like 20 cards and you can't just put them in a deck. You have to have them all laid out in front of you, like in rows under your character. And then when you've got there, prime example, it's not loads on that one. They're using like play mats and stuff, but you can see how like you would have more. Those play mats are useless because you can have way more cards than what they actually accommodate on those mats.
That's typical of most of these games, yeah.
But it is very much it became the problem. I felt like I needed to buy like a visor table just to put the board on, so that I could let my character sprawl for the whole table. But there is an app. I'm not sure if it's official, but there is an app you can use that just manages the characters and remembers all your stat sheets. Yeah, on top of this, you've also got like a pen and paper RPG style character sheet.
To be honest, I know this game exists, but I know nothing about folklore.
It's good. That's the thing. It's a very good dungeon crawl. It uses percentile dice as well.
Was it a video game?
No, it was it's just this big old dungeon crawl thing that is very like RPG like, sort of like DM's a D&D style campaign for you ish.
So basically another fantasy dungeon crawl.
No, yeah, kind of. I can't really tell you what's different about folklore. All I know is that when I played it, it was good fun. And I ended up with characters that were ghosts and like weird things going on with massive amounts of cards on the table. Until eventually I decided to get rid of everything to do with my characters off the table, just put the maps out and use the app to manage everything else. So,
okay, fair enough. I mean, as I know nothing about the game. It sounds cool. I think it's just the fact that dungeon crawls are like a dime a dozen now.
Yeah. I think I'm lucky in that sense because I haven't been in the hobby for like a decade like most people have. So a lot of the stuff I come across when it comes to dungeon crawls have been like recent dungeon crawls. I haven't got like that Hero Quest upbringing. You know what I mean?
Oh god, yeah, I have. Yeah. All the hero questing as a kid. Right. Let's say I got to look at the updated this on there. Number 4. Oh, actually, as we're talking about fantasy dungeon crawls, this is probably my pick, I would say, of those dungeon crawls. Would it be? Yeah, I believe it is, actually. If we're talking fantasy ones, this is my pick. Dark, gritty, goes over the Arthurian legends in the best way possible. It's Tainted Grail. Now, I love the story in this.
How do you save this one?
How do I... this one just stays out on the table as well. I don't think the save function's that bad in it, though, compared to the other one.
They all just stay on the table, Luke.
Well, yeah, but as I say, I don't think packing this one away is that bad. But the thing with this one is, as much as the story is
basically.
Now, the story is fantastic. It looks gorgeous. It's got a cool combat system that I like. But these men here's, and in the other campaign I've done the last night, the Frostbite rule, this game basically has certain rules that do nothing but increase the grind. So you basically... it's another one of these roadblock things. It's like, all right, we've got hundreds of hours in this campaign because you're going to be spending a good 50 hours grinding back and forth just to progress.
Here's 1 point after 5 scenarios. Have fun.
Well, it's not even XP, that's the problem. It's just the fact that those men here come up... Well, let's take the Fall of Avalon first. This men here dude here. You have to spend resources to put them up. They only last a certain amount of time, and then they go away. And then you have to put them back up again. But then every time you travel away from it, it's only got a range of around itself. So you have to raise another menhir, and then another, just to get across the map. It's a stupid grind. So I've already house ruled.
It also seems a good way of like stopping the game becoming too big.
Like I said, it's just a stupid mechanism. I like the idea of putting them up, fine. But I've house ruled how they work. Other people have house ruled how they work. I mean, I've said that they've got bigger range, so you don't have to activate as many.
Of this one, I haven't actually played anything like the board game. I played the video game of it, and I was a bit confused about its deck building style. But
I mean, the video game's a card game. I mean, this is different.
This is completely different. I realized that the moment I started the first mission.
But these ones, I mean, I say they got extra range. Other people have said they stay up permanently, but you can only have 3 of them up. That's a pretty good way to do it. Some people just increase the timer they're up for. You know, I'm fine with stuff like that. But I certainly have to house rule it because it's just such a grind if you don't. You just never get through the story.
So pretty. Is this Adam Kopinski as well?
Yeah, it's this stuff.
Designs.
But the other thing is the frostbite rule in the last night one, the one after it, the snow one. The frostbite rule is broken. It basically, if you get covered in frostbite, which could just happen as a story element, essentially when you move, you take damage. And you can't heal it off. You have to like go somewhere that can specifically remove it. So not just find shelter. You've got to go somewhere specifically to be able to remove it. And it could hit you at times where you're nowhere near a settlement. And you're just basically like on... like barely able to crawl to the next location before you can spend more resources to heal up. And I absolutely house rule frostbite to say that you can heal it off. So if you're at max health and you heal yourself, you can get rid of frostbite, because if you don't, that becomes a grind as well. And it's like, I've got to play through another campaign in that box, the prequel one. They better not have a stupid rule that I've got a house rule in that as well.
Ouch.
Just, you know, game fantastic for 9/10 of it. It's just that always a little grind that just gets on my nerves.
Those little icons on the side of the cards, is that like similar to the way that you sort of like, they like sort of combo on each other when you overlay them?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of another game that does it. I can't right now. I'm drawing a blank on it.
Yeah, basically the left to right. And when you go into combat, you play so many cards and then the creature does its thing. But basically you link up these little banners, and if you can get the symbols to match, then, you know, like they don't break the chain, then you get to key off like abilities on the cards, or you do damage based on the creature you're fighting and that.
Yeah, okay. I get
it. It's a cool little puzzle, and I like the combat in this. I mean, hell, the cards just look so good. I just want to stare at them. But yeah, just each of the campaigns has one grind rule that I have to house rule, and it's a pain.
Yes. Ooh.
Not a fan, but
the next one's going to be interesting. I can tell you.
Well, maybe I should have put this higher for getting riled up.
I'm not saying this was not interesting.
All my choices are interesting. What are you on about?
Interesting people, okay? Just tell people. Don't give them the option to say no. So yeah, it's the next number, is it not? At this point.
But you gotta have the fun transition. No, how dare you like not have the funky transition?
I'm waiting for it. I'm sat here eagerly anticipating that transition.
Yeah, but I've got control of the button.
I know. So now I'm just here dribbling on a microphone.
You heard it here first. Finish dribbling? Okay.
Okay. So I have got my number 3, something that might be a little controversial, but I'm going to tell you something about it. The thing that I don't like about this game, I will never play this game without, because I saw something at the same time. It's a very love-hate relationship with this, and I've gone for Spirit Island, the event deck.
Boo.
I love the event deck, and I'll never not play with it. But sometimes it pulls a card, and it makes me smash my head against the table to the point that I've got tiny little men's square bases sticking out the corner of my eye. So it's a very infuriating time when something on that event card can really spoil what I've just spent the last like 40 minutes or so creating.
But oh, I love it.
Yes, I've literally written it on the piece of paper as love hate. It says, I'm not going to show the bottom. Actually, no, I'm not going to show the paper. But it's written on there as love/hate because I can't play the game without it. I love that the event deck adds so much variety to the game. But sometimes I put a card. It's getting pretty obvious now. I like easy games in there. I don't like it when something like you throw a spanner in the works. I'm like, oh, I hate you. Nah, it's not like that at all. We know that all of us love Spirit Island here. It's a very, very good game. Possibly Luke's number one. Oh no, I know. I had to put it here. As soon as I thought of it, I was like, Luke's gonna take this one. He's so quiet. I can just see him contemplating his rage.
No, I mean, some people do complain about the event deck, and I can see that if you really want to keep all randomness out of the game entirely, then yes, the event deck is not going to be your friend.
It's like a conflict. I have like an internal conflict about the event deck. And it tears me up. It keeps me awake, you know.
No, I love the event deck. I would say I will never not play without it. And yes, it can throw a spanner in the works, but it can sometimes save your bacon. It creates those cool moments.
Yeah, that's why I said I love it. But it's the thing that can also ruin my day in Spirit Island, even though I love the game so much and can't stop ever playing it because I got it on Steam now.
Oh god, yeah, the Steam app, yeah, it's stupidly expensive on Android. I will not buy the Android app, but no, sorry, Jonah, I'm keeping the event deck.
Jonah hates the event deck. I don't hate it. It's not about hate. It's internal conflict.
Internal conflict.
It makes me twisted and emotion. I become a ball of emotion because of the event deck.
Believe me, I've played with John in person. You don't want to see him become a ball of emotion. It's just, it's not healthy.
They made me leave just after you taught me the game.
Well, that wasn't my fault. That was your buddies that you came to the convention with.
Well, they are buddies. They dream big games, but they are my buddies. Then they did take me to UKG, but still, they made me go to hotel just after you taught me Whistle Mountain, or wasn't it? Whistle Mountain.
Yeah, I taught Whistle Mountain to this guy, and then his colleagues at the Games Expo decided to drag him away after I taught him the game.
Yeah, just before round one.
It's like absolute pain. Alrighty, my 3 is not Spirit Island. My 3 is instead, as I check my list again. Yes, we've talked about many LCGs on this list, so we obviously have to go to another LCG. Why don't we? We're not going to cover the whole set. I think this will be the last. This is the last LCG on the list. But Arkham LCG, the Arkham Order card game, is again really cool. Love it. You know, still one of my favorite games. I ain't got nothing against that. But the thing it's kind of weird, this one. Yes, I do dislike it. But obviously it's fundamental to the game and there's still bits I like in it. And strangely enough, it's the Chaos Bag. Which I know sounds a little bit weird, but it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's like, well, hang on, isn't that kind of a fundamental piece of the game?
I'm pretty sure I wasn't the only one who laughed when they first used the term Chaos Bag.
And as for I'm butchering everybody's name today, it's just it's a thing. I will always butcher names. It's something I can't get used to.
They might have been talking about me. I know she's Jonah, but I may have accidentally said Jonah.
That's the thing. I would just say it quickly. So whether I'm just getting it right every time by fluke, I don't know. But we're sorry if we get your name wrong. That's what we're saying. But we love you. But this Chaos Bag, yes, the Chaos Bag is a random modifier at the end of the day. So you draw. See if I can find a picture of it somewhere. But you draw tokens out of this bag, and they've got like -2, -3, whatever. And so when you're doing skill tests and hitting monsters, you have to draw a token, apply the modifier of the token, and then put it back. Now, as much as putting it back in the bag is already a pain, you know, I mean, you can get an app that does it for you.
I'll let you say it.
Yeah, let's say the app is good for it, but I've got mine in coin token capsules, so it feels really good to get them out of the bag. But the problem is that you can play this in 4 different levels of difficulty, and the only thing that this difficulty does is that it makes these modifiers stupidly ridiculous. You know, this is probably like a standard set. You know, you got a -3, a -2, maybe it's the easy one, I don't know. But you've got a fail token, that means you fail it automatically. And when you go on to expert or hard, you know, whatever those 2 difficulties are, these tokens are ridiculous. Like the most menial task you will fail just because there's too many minuses in there. But it doesn't make... It's not like the...
Play on
Like,
easy.
I now do.
Easy. That's why I
No. I now do. I used to play it on standard, but recently, because the scenarios have gotten more difficult as cycles have gone through, it's better for me to play this on easy, because it's not like the monsters get more tactical or anything, like in a video game. It's not like, oh, the puzzles are suddenly harder to solve. It's just luck of the draw.
Has worse sides on it, basically.
Yeah, and that's not as fun. You know, I don't see why, because you could play it on easy mode and still fail the mission by drawing like the fail token 3 times over, which I have done multiple times.
Yeah, it's happened. It has.
Yeah, and so the difficulty doesn't make any sense.
Is that there's different versions of the actual cards themselves in there, which tell you what the skulls do, etc. for the hard and the easy.
But it's just making the modifiers worse. So this is the same deal. It just makes the modifiers worse. It doesn't make the game more challenging from the story perspective. It's just more randomly punishing. And it can still be randomly punishing on easy mode. You could still pull the high negative tokens on a regular basis. But, you could even blitz through a standard scenario if you're just able to draw the Elder Sign token about 3 times in a row. As much as the Chaos Bag is necessary, and I like the fact you customize it during the missions, and like I say, it is a nice bit of tension. It is a double-edged sword in the fact that I do now play on easy difficulty, because I think, you know what, if I've prepped to do this skill test, yes, there is a chance I could fail it, a high negative or to fail token, but I'd like to think that if I've prepped enough for it, I should be able to succeed for it. It's just, it's a bit of a weird one, this one. It's like, I know it's in there, I know it needs to be there, but it's a bit like your Spirit Island one, actually. You will play with it, obviously.
I won't play without it. Never.
Yeah, you can't not play with this Chaos Bag, but you can still kind of get annoyed by it.
I'm hoping, because they've just done the revised sets in it, I'm hoping, because I'm only as far as Dunwich, right? I've finished Dunwich Cycle. As soon as they announced the revised edition, I was like, I'm not buying Carcosa until it comes out in a single box, basically. So I've stopped with the LCG right now. And that was the one thing, if I was going to put this on the list, it would have been getting packs for it.
Yeah, the pack system was a bit flawed, didn't work, but I mean, they're just releasing the Dunwich one now, and they have announced the Carcosa one in the Investigator box and the Campaign box, like I've got with the Edge of the Earth one.
Same box. Stop doing this, Fancy Flight. I don't mind paying extra, but I'm both in the box. One box, please.
Yeah, but not everybody wants to have all the story expansions in it. Some people just want more cards. So I'm fine with the idea of them splitting Investigator and Campaign, even though it's expensive. But just the fact that you get everything you need in the box, not have to wait for 6 separate packs that go out of print.
Or if you're like me, you found the missions pack, but then the Investigator pack was out of stock for ages, and you're playing with cards from like 5 cycles ago.
It won't get that bad. I mean, these will stay in print longer, and you've got plenty of tough time to get them. But
they switched to the Marvel version, basically the Marvel distribution model. It's basically what they've done. Yeah,
but the Marvel distribution models are probably worse, because some of those hero packs not only go out of print quick, but ones like War Machine, was it War Machine and somebody else, the Hood scenario? Yeah, but they were meant to come out in October here.
True.
Yeah, the Marvel Champion model doesn't work, in my opinion, either. I'd rather get a big box set with a bucket load of heroes, rather than having a titchy little pack every now and again that you sometimes never get.
Kickstarter method. Send me a crate with everything in it.
But it doesn't have to have everything. But, I mean, Sentinels is doing that now. The definitive version has a bucket load of stuff in that box, and now they're going another big box expansion with another ton of stuff in it that you can decide if you need to or not. But they're not sort of going, right, here's a hero and a blister... this month, and then
they're pretty much slowing that down with Champions as well. It feels like they go in for the old characters, and now they're just releasing like a big box with like 2 characters to go with it, and it's very rare that they're releasing new scenarios and packs and stuff.
That is true. That might have something to do with the fact that they're running out of good heroes to do. I mean, they're doing Ironheart now or something, and it's like, okay, I don't know enough about her in the lore. But we have Daredevil, Jessica Jones, all the Defender characters. Can we not have them first, or any X-Men, before we go into these, like,
Loads of allies that can be made into characters here, but they just choose the weird ones. I don't
Yeah,
know.
but it's like we're getting like the Z team of heroes for Marvel Champions when there's all these really
There'll be
cool
some
ones you could do.
movies or something, and then we'll be like, oh, that's why.
Yeah, that would be quite cool. Yeah, we'll have to see. But, yep, okay, with that said, twos!
So now this is a tricky one for me because when you said this was you put the word top before 10, right? So that meant that I chose two of my favorite games for the last two games, two of my very favorite games.
Yeah, they don't have to be, it doesn't have to be your top 10 games. I mean, these aren't my top 10 games.
But for number two, I've chosen Hardy from Too Many Bones. Just the one effect, Hardy. Hardy has the ability to turn your day into 5 fatigue rounds, right? Because
What?
it does, yeah, Hardy means you're only doing 1 damage, right, per hit, regardless of how much damage you actually produce. I think it's Hardy is the one that does that.
I'm trying to remember because it's, like I say, I bounced off the game mildly, so...
It is a game I play a lot. It's one of my favorite. It was number 1, I think, on my last list. I can't remember if it moved about or not. But it's just Hardy can ruin the whole game. Just the one creature comes out with Hardy, and you're like, oh, I'm stuck playing this for the next 45 minutes now. You're not getting through your day in 15 minutes like you usually would. Do you know what I mean? It's just that one effect that just seems to lengthen the day. It doesn't do anything else but lengthen the game.
Yeah, I think I sort of know what you mean. I can't remember if it's Hardy or another one, but yeah, there were some effects in that game that I thought were just like, oh, come on, do I really have to?
But like I said, it made like my favorite game in my first top 10 list. I can't remember if it got knocked down to the second place in the recent list. But yeah, Hardy just it can be a problem in day 8. Do you know what I mean?
Vincent says, what's Compound?
Hardy and Compound's just as bad. Compound is like it's where it like adds more attack in a similar. I have to look it up. I'm gonna have to pull up a character sheet here now.
I mean, I tried it. I mean, I this is one of those games that I did honestly give as good a chance as it could get, but I couldn't give it more than an average rating once I was done with it because there was just too many things that got on my nerves, and that was not even just including the stupid not difficulty, the learning curve of trying to get through all those reference sheets and stuff of all the rules and that rule book. But yeah, some of those effects, like you mentioned, were a bit of a pain. The lack of a story didn't help. I wanted more. Actually, I'm not going to get into all the reasons now, but I've done it. Go check out my review for that. But
what I had with it was once I added Splice and Dice, right, it sort of became almost too much for me to want to play it all the time. It was like too much expansion to it. Yeah, Compound. If a unit has the compound scale, its attack stat is equal to the current round number. In round it has 1 attack and 3 attack, etc. So yeah, Compound can be a pain as well. If you mix it with Hardy and you're stuck with 5 attack for 5 rounds of dealing 1 damage on a guy with 8 health, you're screwed.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, some of those scenarios, yeah, just put so much stuff against you that you got no chance of winning it. But yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm glad to see that some people will actually admit there are occasional bad things in Too Many Bones, because usually... Sorry?
You're calling me John. I'm joking. Where's my 2 N's and Y, mate?
Because I shorten everything, that's what. But I can't call you Hexy, because I'll slur my words.
No, he calls me Hexy.
Yeah, but knowing me, I'll slur my words, so...
It is actually funny. Remember I told you I got noticed the one time in a store? Is the way they said it was funny. It was like, oh, Hexy. I was like, oh my god, it just sounds like someone's wolf whistling me.
Well, you are supposedly a beast, so surely that comes into it.
I didn't choose to be called Hexy. I said that was the name of the channel.
Yeah, but it's going to be associated with you. I mean, I get called Broken every now and again. So
Right, Broke. How's it going?
yeah, just more. Well, maybe that's more a personality trait or something rather than an actual name. But we'll see. But
got used to it. I was like, no, it's the name of the channel. But now I'm just used to it.
Fair enough. Okay, well, my number 2, I had this at my number 1 for a bit, and then I had a thought, and I was like, no, hang on, I'm going to swap my 3, make it my 1, and juggle them around a bit, because when I thought about it more, it's like, oh yeah, this is still something that I dislike it a lot from its base game. The expansions fix this now, to the point where you no longer need to use it, but it's why I tell everybody in my videos and all that, and every time I mention this game, that if you are going to get Abyss, for as fantastic a game as it is, it's good pretty good, very good in sense, in its base game form. You really do need to get Leviathan, though, because you've got to get rid of that stupid monster track. That is the... It is a massive blemish on the game.
Sorry, I'm dying. There we go.
Well, while you die there, I'll explain. But but this monster track here is just a stupid inclusion because this token levels up when you hit the monster card in the allies deck. Nobody lets it go more than halfway because you're unlikely to ever get the rewards further up by having another card pop out for you. So people just like claim the bonus on the second and third spot. It's artificial. It doesn't feel like you've encountered a monster. It's like it's the one thing in Abyss that is just bad design, I think, in my opinion. But then
I want to play this because I see pearls and I see a big face.
Didn't I bring it to Games Expo? I guess I didn't.
I think it might have been in the box, but I don't think I played it with you because I spent most of my time demoing, didn't I? To be fair.
That is true. I'm pretty certain I brought Abyss and played it several times. I just think, yeah, maybe you were demoing. But you've got to get this expansion because this stuff replaces that track. So now Abyss goes into my top 10 games and I love it like even more. But God, that monster track sucks. It's one of my favorite games of all time, and I still think that track is stupid.
I just want to play it. I really want to try it, actually. Now, every time I see the art, I'm just like, oh, it's so, like, twisted. I like it. It's, like, ultra real. Do you know what I mean? It's got, like, that super real sort of look to it.
Oh, that artwork's just so gorgeous, yeah. I mean, now, granted, there is an element in one of the expansions, the Kraken expansion, with a loot deck, which is just a push your luck thing. That sucks also, but that's on an expansion, and I can easily choose to ignore that. You don't even have to remotely put it into the game. But you cannot play without the monster track in the base game, so you are forced to play with this average, mediocre track thing that's just there. It exists.
Yeah. There's a lot of games that do the whole, let's put an arbitrary track somewhere.
It should remind you of Aquatica because, I mean, the artwork's just as good in that, although I'd say this one's slightly better. But God, these Leviathans.
I feel like being a solo gamer, I've missed out on a lot of these, like, staple experiences sometimes. Like, some people mention games that, like, obviously are better at, like, 3 to 4 players or whatever, and I'm just like, I've never touched them. Never gone near them.
Well, if you're a solo gamer, that's fine. We'll take it from Mark Dainty or something. He will verify that every game I teach him is excellent. So if he's played it, then you need to play it as well.
Well, nah, me and Mark are good. We're friends. We tend to agree a lot, actually, on a lot of games.
Well, you would do as a solo.
He tends to cover long games. I tend to cover short games, I've noticed. Like, I tend to go for, like, a lot of quick dice games and stuff, and he tends to do these big Lacerdas and like long Euro games like Nemesis and all. He's very much into games that'll take him all night to play.
Yeah, like Lufia and stuff, But yeah, he's never complained about any game I've taught him yet. Let's face it. I got him into Ark Nova and a few others, so...
Pretty sure me and John are the ones that convinced you to play Spirit Island again, because you hated it at first, I remember you saying.
I didn't hate it. I just didn't get a good first play of it because of the bad teacher and that. But I can't remember if you convinced me or it was more... Because the main thing I remember is some friends in my Portsmouth club teaching me it after I've been tempted for a while to get back into it. And it's like, right, you guys teach me it because you're experts.
On Facebook about it at some point.
You probably have nudged me every now and again, which is fine. Like I say, the game is fantastic, but
I don't remember that much.
I say the game's fantastic. I'll give it that. But yeah, I needed that teach from my mates local to get me back into that one.
John, I'll take all the credit. John is the reason. Okay.
If you want to believe that.
To be fair, she does make brilliant Spirit Island content. When she does talk about Spirit Island, you can tell she really loves the game. Anyway, enough complimenting people. Jonna, One Pip Wonder.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely, actually. I mean, I like that tier maker list that they did, which inspired me to do my own one. Hopefully one day we'll actually get to play that together. That would be good. But, all right. So, number ones.
So it's number 1, and I have to go first. So do you know what it's going to be? This is like this.
Well,
is
it is it a crossover?
No, this is less about the. That was very abrupt of me. That was less of It's very much. I forgot what I was talking about now. Right, yeah, it's very much less of a problem with the game, and more of a problem with the way it can play out. It's Mage Night, right? And every now and again, after about 2 days, when you get both
Um,
cities,
it, top
I know
10 worst things in our favorite
yeah, I love Mage
games.
Night. If you see my list, right? Yeah, I didn't say it was your favorite game.
We don't. The thing is, we can't stretch the stream out to 2 hours to list all the worst things in it.
Okay, so well, my worst thing in it. Imagine you've been sat there for 2.5 hours. You've played 2 days, 2 days in the game with your dummy player, and all that, right?
Yeah, I've already killed myself. Yeah.
You finally reveal the maps on your tile, but you've revealed the two cities. However, there is water blocking your entrance to one of them. You cannot get there. You have lost the game. Accept it. That can happen in this game. There is a config in which the tiles can come out where there is nothing between the two cities. They are not connected to the map properly. Like, there is just water there. It's very rare that it happens, but one of the city tiles has like a lake that goes around it, and if mixed with like one of the other tiles, it pretty much just creates a moat around the city, and it's pretty much impossible to get into that.
Right.
Yeah,
So you're trying to say that this game that everybody loves and says is such a great design has a fundamental setup rule that can break the game at the start.
At the end, it breaks the game at the end.
Even worse then.
There is a config that the tiles can come out that can make it impossible to complete the game unless you're able to get over the water, which I don't think everyone can do. I think only like one character can do it or something.
Man, I mean, if only that came up in something called playtesting.
Yeah, it's happened to me a few times now. So, like, even though Mage Knight is one of the games I love dearly, when that happens, I want to throw it around the room and kill. I can't think. Promise, I want to stamp on it. But those gems are sharp. They're gonna go through my shoes. I'm not gonna stamp on it, but I want to. I really want to.
Oh man, I'm so glad we haven't got Paul Grogan on the chat, because this would literally be. But it would just be a gush fest about this, wouldn't it?
I love this game though. One day we will talk about how much we like it, but I know you hate it, so I'm not going to go on about Mage Knight.
You could, hey, just because I don't like it doesn't mean you can't tell everyone why you like it. So
Everybody heard Mage Knight. It's the best solo game. Everyone knows it. So
wrong.
I know.
No, Spirit Island was that. So
Too Many Bones is better. Anyway, that's what we should do. Compare Too Many Bones and Mage Knight with Luke.
God no, we'd never finish. I mean, I'd rather play that Euphoria game that Mark showed me at GridCon or something, and I only found that marginally better than Mage Knight. It's basically just Mage Knight distilled.
Is it?
Yeah, that's basically what Euphoria is. It's another version of Mage Knight.
Not distilled as in the whiskey making game.
Nah, just like slightly less rules and complications, but it's still got some fiddly stuff with creatures. Creatures like dragonflies can come at you with mind-altering powers and stuff. It's
the backs of those cards with the fists on them that are pretty much a straight copy of Mage Knight. Those are straight, like, yeah, them. The barracks cards or shot soldier ones or whatever they call them.
Yeah, we did a 2-player co-op, and I never felt like I was cooperating in any way. I mean, yeah, this game was a complete dud. But like I say, he loves it. You love your, you love your Mage Knight. That's fine.
Right, but I was like, I've already got Mage Knight. It looks way too similar, and I was unsure if it was worth replacing Mage Knight.
I don't think you would need both. I honestly think you would pick one or the other.
Have you tried the Star Trek Mage Knight?
I refuse to. Frontiers. I want to try Ascendancy. The more kind of the big grandiose Star Trek one. I want to try Ascendancy, but not Frontiers. No.
All right. Try it, but I'm not sure. Anyway, yeah, you're number one. I'll let you do this. Getting tired now.
Nah, my number one was my number three until I thought about it a bit more. And then as I thought about it, it was like almost a bit like an internal monologue of rage. Because this does frustrate me with this. It's probably the game I like the least on this list, funny enough. I mean, I still love it. It's like 9 out of 10 for me. But I think looking at the rest, no, I actually prefer this to Robinson Crusoe. And no, that's about it, really. Yeah, and maybe... No, to say, this is probably one of the lesser games I like. But this aspect of it drives me up the wall. And it's not really the game's fault. It's a flaw of the gamers. And I mean the flaw of their intelligence. Because this is ridiculous. Kabuki has hinted on this. Kabuki has hinted on this a minute ago, though. Because she basically, where's the comment? I can find it. Here we go. Yeah. Logic deduction game where a player can break the game, right? This is similar to what it is, because the one that I have, my number 1, is cryptid. Now, bear with me here. In a deduction game, the one flaw you have with deduction games is that if somebody gives out the wrong information, at any point they're asked for something, it breaks the game. You know, like, the game is broken. You've got to give out the correct information. And this could have been my number 1 just to say this is a problem with deduction games. But it's like, okay, there's no way around that. You just have to accept that's a fact. Just be mindful of what you're giving out. Now, you play a 2-hour game like Sleuth, and somebody says, "Oh, I had 3 diamonds in my hand. I thought I had 4." You want to kill them because after 2 hours, I want to kill them as well. Cryptid is on my list though because I have taught this a ton of times lately. All right, I've taught this at demos. I've taken it to my game night, and it is a 30-minute simple abstract deduction game, and it is great. I love this one.
When I saw the cover, to be fair.
Yeah. Yeah, the cover looks nicer than the game, but it has to be abstract like this because it makes it easy to see where things are. And say, it's a 30-minute deduction game. But the problem with this is the setup is done in such a way that only one space here is where the monster is that you've got to find. Everybody has to read from these little books that they have, which I can try to find. And based on these books, so you get a clue, which is what? No more than 6 words long. Like 6 words, okay? And they're simple things like... on forest or swamp, or, 2 spaces from a stone statue or so. They're very simple clues that you should be able to remember, right? So, okay, fine. But the amount of times I play this with people who, when you ask questions around the group and you say, right, can the creature be in this spot? And they get the information wrong and don't realize they've done it, gets to the point of enraging me. Because, firstly, you only have to remember 4 to 6 words. If you can't remember a 4 to 6 word sentence, then you might want to consider a different job that you're doing. Because I hear of graphic designers and mechanical engineers having trouble remembering 6 words. It's like, come on. But the main problem I get is there are clues that say within 1 space of forest, or within 2 spaces of stone statue, or cougar territory, whatever, right? The dictionary definition of the word within is not something that has escaped most people who can speak the English language. Okay. The fact that I've had so many people give out wrong information of this, when they seem to assume that in a board game, the word within means something different from what it means in the English language. So it essentially basically has, people will go like, oh, well, I know that within should include itself, but in this board game, it must clearly not include the space it's on. So you ask them, can it be within you think their clue is within 1 space of water. You ask them, can it be on this space, which is water? And they say it can't because for whatever reason, they believe the word within is not inclusive of the space it's on. The rules explain it clearly. I explain it at the start of every game now, and I wish I didn't have to, because surely it's not a difficult concept. But
gaming, you don't teach anyone anything. Unless you have a YouTube channel, in which case you teach everyone all the time. But
that is true. But just, I'm looking at there, and I can think of these clues quite quick, and it's like, I had it on Monday night, and there was a couple of people who did this. They got it wrong because they didn't understand the dictionary definition of the word within. Now, I get it, as Lillian says, if it's not your first language, fine. Not a problem. But I do explain it at the start of the game, so you should be able to know that point. But this is fully English speakers I'm talking about here, that are local gamers who know exactly what they're doing and what the word means. Yes, it's, but I can look at somebody's cubes and that on the table, and I can go, you've made a mistake. And they'll deny it for a good 10-15 minutes, and I will be like, no, I am adamant you have made a mistake. And they'll be fine with it, and then I point out where they've made the mistake, and it's the same thing. It's like, oh, is that what within means? I didn't know. It's like, come on. And this one had to propel it. I don't know. It's that this one that enrages me, which is why it's propelled to my number 1. Because I sort of thought, okay, as much as these other games may be bigger favorites of mine, I am really liking Cryptid. It has risen up in my rankings over time because I just think for a 30-minute deduction game with simple rules, this is really, really good. And I am looking forward to the 2-player one that's coming later. But, oh my word, it's just, seriously, it's not hard. Remember 4 words and the definition of the word within.
I can remember 1 4-letter word, but,
I know, but I mean, if your clue is like, within, was it on desert or forest? Can you remember two different words? Desert, forest? That can't be that hard.
The Taoist.
It, and it's like, fair enough. If you forget your clue word, then read the book again. You can see which one it is. So I got no problem with people checking the book. But then if you are checking the book, you should have no excuse to get the information wrong at that point. So that's like one bit. But I think it's mainly that within thing. That has caught out so many people who just seem to change the definition of the word once they enter this game. I don't know why they do it. And it just annoys me when they break the game as a result of it. But I still love the game.
Yeah,
Rant over. Yeah.
I'm interested. I've got one bonus one on mine, but it's kind of more of a joke. And it just,
what's that?
Just went down Mysterium Park, and in brackets I put Luke Hector. So,
just because you lot don't think on the same wavelength as mine, it's not my fault. I know what I'm talking about. You just don't interpret the pictures right. But yeah, so like I say, a bit of a rage-inducing number one there, but that's as I say, like now I'd be afraid to play Cryptid with Luke just in case my memory fails me. It's like you can read the book again, that's fine, but at least you know what the word within means. It's just
a little post-it on the tables.
Yeah, it's just because I know like some of the people who have got caught out by it are like they do really technical jobs for a living. They're computer programmers and stuff like that, and it's just like, how does this flummox you and yet this doesn't?
I find that with some games though. It's funny what games I'll learn and games that'll confuse me.
I mean,
really complex, and it'll just go in the first time I read the rulebook, and then I'll try and play a simple dice game 2 weeks later, and I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I say you're absolutely right. I mean, it is not. It's not like I can't understand it at all. It's just like it's one of those things that just keeps propping up, and I'm like, hey, it's like
I almost went too Welsh then. What's going on, Dad? Welsh from you. I'm sorry, Luke.
Nah, that's fair enough. But yeah, it's just I don't know. But never mind. All right, so yeah, I mean, honorable mentions are like very quick. I did have Spirit Island on the list, but it was more for spindly plastic miniatures. Like those spindly plastic guys, I'm a little bit annoyed with, but I just figured, well, I think if you tried to bling it up,
because from a distance, they kind of look fine on the board, but when you start holding and you start seeing the defects between different ones and stuff, then you notice how kind of basic they are.
Yeah, I mean, I could live with it. It's if you tried to deluxify it too much, it would just cost a bomb and be hard to see. So
I did buy the premium token pack. I just haven't opened it yet. I haven't put it in the game.
I'll put it in. That token pack is great. But I also had Innovation because of the way it looks. I do think it's ugly as sin, but I love the game. The other one that I think would have made my 11 was Viticulture, because
one is interested in wine.
No, I love wine. But so I'd bring some garlic and silver bullets. Yes, if I get angry, you're going to need more than silver bullets and garlic. I'll tell you that because I don't often get angry. But the thing with Viticulture is the 1,000-year-old vampire. Good segue. But it's the essentials part of it. It's the sales model more than the game. Because I think Stonemaier completely dropped the ball when it came to the essentials thing. Because it's like, right, so you've re-released it. Great. And you've taken some aspects of Tuscany. Great. Have you taken all the good stuff from Tuscany? No. Why? Make money.
The second printing of Wingspan as well, didn't they? They added those 10 cards for the new players, and then everybody was like annoyed that they didn't have those really terrible cards that they gave you for tutorial.
I don't mind that, but it's just, like I say, you had... Clearly, these were the bits from Tuscany that people liked, and yet they only took half of that to put in Viticulture Essentials. So Viticulture Essentials on its own does not have the good stuff from Tuscany that it needs. It didn't bring the board over, or the orange structures. Fail. I mean, how can you could have done without Tuscany Essentials entirely if you brought over the orange structures and the board. And, poor sales model.
Viticulture is a game that I have only played the digital version of, so I'm not sure if that is the essential edition or not.
It may even have Tuscany's included. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah. Where's the kitty cat that calmed me down? That'd be good.
I think I let her out. The last time I opened the door was because she was scratching at it, I think. I don't know.
Scratching at it?
She opened the door herself. You know how my door was open like 10 minutes ago?
Yeah.
She opened that herself. I didn't do that. She does that.
All right, I see.
That's why I closed the door. So she was scratching at it. I looked around for her. I stroked her head and then she ran off. So you've upset her. I don't know how, but
I have not upset her at all. I apologize for the earlier comment, so we're all good. But
what did you say about my tail? No,
it's all.
She's gonna be annoyed.
I say she's got a cat door in your games room.
No, she doesn't have cat doors. She just opens real doors. She
Oh
can put her
right.
hand- She. Where behind that door, there's like a bit of carpet, like a scratching post. So she stands on the top of it and puts her front paws on the handle, which she then clicks, and then the door opens. She can actually open the door proper.
Right. Oh, I see.
It's a new build. The door handles are really terrible.
So, programmer's wife buy butter, and if there are eggs, buy 10. Programmer returns with 10 butter. There were eggs.
Yes.
I sort of get that, but
Yeah, it makes sense.
I'd say I have to show that to my mate Matt, also, who actually is a computer programmer or something. He'd get that in the shot. I'll have to remember that and get that off the chat for him.
That
would
there's loads good programming jokes out there, to be fair.
Yeah, if then joke. All right, yeah. I thought that was what it was, but my mate would get it in seconds, so it took me a minute.
I've heard that one before as well. That's why I didn't laugh uncontrollably. It was like, oh, it's that one. It's that one.
That's fair enough. All right, well, cheers for that, say Johnny, for getting on this channel again.
We made at least 90 minutes worth of entertaining content for the people at home.
Yeah, that's the idea. But I'd say that's the idea, and we even got some chance, to mingle with the cat, which is always a highlight. So, that's easily going to be like the most thumbed up bit. Yeah, thumb up the video if you like the cat. There you go.
Yeah. Oh, go like my channel as well. Go subscribe to me because I want to hit 1,000 so I get a community tab, please. Please.
Yeah, I was going to say if you like his cat, then subscribe to his channel, and then you might actually see more of it.
Create another account for your own cat and get that cat to subscribe to my cat through my channel.
Yeah, but then that will get all the content though.
Yeah, the cat will overtake me.
Well, looking at your thing, you got 996. You need 4 more, so
come on, guys.
we gotta get 4 more for him by the end of the night. That would be really cool. So yeah, but great. So I don't know when there'll be another collaboration at this rate. None's planned. Next week I'm at my
I kid.
Nah, my brother's got a stag do next weekend, so I'll be busy for that. The following weekend there might be something else on.
Definitely take your camera on the stag do. Come on, try and play some games.
Nah, I mean, like I say, it should be quite cool. But like I say, it'll be a little while before I get another collaboration one on, at least a couple of weeks. But then I'll probably do a solo live stream top 10 at some stage because I want to experiment with that format, like maybe during the week and that. But I don't know. We'll cross that bridge later. For now, I've got to consider whether I'm going to go to a late night Batman showing or carry on unboxing the Sentinels game. Just 2 very good choices there.
Oh, that's a tricky one, isn't it?
It is a tricky one. Yeah, but it also depends on how fast I can drive. So there is that. But say cheers for coming on, Johnny. I hope it was a fun list for everybody. Thanks for everyone in the chat. You've been great as always.
I got to do my thing at the end, as always, isn't it? Because I have to say it. Because I say it at the end of all my videos, right?
Say it.
Stay hexy, everyone. It sounds so cheesy because I don't know if you press stop. It's going to ruin my life. Hey.
Well, no, I didn't want that to be the final thing. Yeah, I can't end it on your bit. That's just not fair. So, that'll work. But
I'm not going to do that to you. I was going to steal your slogan then.
More people should use it. Remember, as always, it's only a game, everyone. Take care. See you soon. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.